All right, we're here. Testing, testing.
Are we here?
I think so.
Are we really here? Or did you mute me again? I can't tell.
I think you're good.
Am I good?
Yeah. I'm looking at the
It
levels.
actually worked.
Yep. For once.
Oh, goody.
Now, if only we pretended to be professional, it would have actually been a professional introduction. But anyway, we're here.
Nah. Because the introduction comes next. Because since you're watching on Twitch, you get all the good stuff that comes along with a professional podcast.
Professional. Funny word. When spoken by some people. Of course, I mean myself, not you. You're a professional. I'm just here to be, I'm just being dragged along.
Well, technically, if we go by the dictionary definition, oh my god, can't even start the first sentence of the show. According to the dictionary definition of professionalism, it requires making money off it.
Does this podcast make money? Do you monetize this podcast?
I do.
You do?
But it doesn't make money.
Well, I mean...
Anyway.
You've done one of the steps.
Hello, everyone, and welcome to Fortnightly Frontier, where I almost segue into the Critical Role intro, but we're not, in fact, a bunch of nerdy-ass voice actors sitting around playing in Dungeons and Dragons. We are, in fact, a couple of nerdy-ass nerds talking about Star Citizen. I'm Darjanator. That's Myre.
We could talk about Dungeons and Dragons.
We could talk about Dungeons and Dragons. Sure, we could. We don't play Dungeons and Dragons, though.
No.
You did.
Did once upon a time.
Once upon a time.
I have no idea where that hat's gone, actually. You know, like the warlocky thing. But anyway. Hi, Darj. How are you doing?
I'm doing great.
What are we talking about today?
I have no clue. I have a
Awesome.
bit of an idea. I also just wanted to mention that this will be the last show for the year.
Yeah.
The year of our Lord Robert's 2948.
Yep.
Don't know where I was going with that.
Yep. I mean, it's
it's
still
been
Christmas.
That kind of day.
Yeah. All right. But yeah, it'll be our last one. I won't be around until next year. I'll be back on the 7th of January. So until then, I guess this will be the last one. You know, if Disco Lando can get away with not doing any content, so can I guess. Maybe. Please be here when I get back. Please.
What, Disco or me?
Chat, you, everybody.
Oh, everybody.
Yeah.
Right.
I come back and everything's in ruins.
Well, I will try my best to be here. I can't speak for chat. Can't speak for the rest of the internet, for she is a fickle mistress. But anyway, occasionally we do talk about Star Citizen on this thing, don't we?
Occasionally, only sometimes.
Yeah. 3.4 is almost live, which means we can already start talking about 3.5.
Yep. What's coming in 3.5 again? Remind me.
DNA system.
Oh, yeah. Female
characters.
Oh, yeah.
Probably the most anticipated 2 additions to the game.
I think that since we've been able to use a male character in the game, people have been wondering, where's the female character at?
Yeah.
So yeah, it's one of those features that people have been waiting for. I think the longest, even longer than most ships. No, even longer than all ships was where's the female representation in the game. So yeah, it's a really big ticket item for CIG to get in. I agree.
Yeah, and they do need to make it right, which is why it's been taking so long.
Yeah, I mean, they've talked about it before. You know, it's like they could just have like a female character in that's like 1-to-1 with a male or whatever, and it's shrunk. But like they don't want to do that. They want to go above and beyond. They want to make sure that what they do is to the level and degree of fidelity as everything else. And
that is what I wanted to talk about primarily on this show is how exactly is the female going to differentiate itself from the male character?
Herself.
Sorry. Did I? What did I say?
You said itself.
Itself. Well, I didn't want to assume.
I had just there.
Oh god. No. Like, what sort of changes will she bring? Will there be any gameplay related changes?
Right.
That we know of?
I mean, it's one of those things in games that do have the choice of being a male or a female. Like certain games that have like really good hitboxes, and Star Citizen is one of them. But there's this one game that comes to mind. I think it was called Shoot Mania. It's by Nadio, the guys who made Trackmania. It was a really popular like Twitch shooter thing, and all the like the high tier players would always use the female characters because they had a slightly smaller hitbox and that kind of thing.
Oh, right.
Yeah.
Do you think that's gonna play a big role? Because
I don't know. With Death of a Spaceman being a thing and stuff like that, you kind of like what you choose.
Yeah.
Go on.
No, go for it.
I was gonna say like what you choose to be in the game, you kind of have to stick with for quite some time. So like you really have to kind of commit to it. Like of course, if it grants you more a little bit more of a boost, like instead of all 10 bullets hitting you, 9 out of 10 bullets hit you. Maybe some people will choose it because of that, because it gives them that slight advantage over everybody else. But I guess we'll have to wait and see on that one.
Yeah, but purely choosing a female character just because of a slightly smaller hitbox strikes me as sort of too clinical of gameplay, too min-maxy, if you know what I mean. Just
that's describing so many gamers, though.
Sure.
So many people do just that.
Sure, but I'm just wondering whether Star Citizen is the right game for those kind of people.
Well, I mean, Star Citizen will offer them, like gameplay opportunities where it will be a case. So for those people who want to play Star Citizen for the broader game, but then also do those things, they'll most likely roll a female if it's going to help them that much. Like,
right.
A lot of people.
But will there be any other benefits to it other than the slightly smaller hitbox? I mean, will there be feminism or the other one?
Chauvinism?
Chauvinism.
Okay.
Or, no. There's a proper word that my mind is coming up with all the words related to it.
Describe the word.
Describe what it does. It's the opposite of misandry.
The opposite of misandry.
Misogyny.
Right,
yeah. Well, we have that in the game. I mean,
definitely. Like, I mean, people
from NPCs. I mean,
from NPCs,
because that is quite a difficult decision to make. Proper racism from other aliens will exist. That is in
that will be a thing. Especially the humans in Teverin are going to be a very interesting dynamic because they're like a subjugated race within the UEE. But as for like male and female,
do you continue that? Do you add like Earth circa 20th century racism to it? Do you add misogyny to it? Where do you draw the line? Like. Because that would add benefits to playing either gender. I mean, there could be a race where misandryism is the popular thing, where it's a completely matriarchal society and men are shunned and looked on as the inferior part of the population.
I guess you bring up a good point. I mean, like in terms of story, there could be a system that for one reason or another has a higher percentage of men than women, and because of that, a quest giver may favor a man or a woman in a certain way because of the story. I mean, I guess it's an interesting one. What do you think? I mean, like, I think that it's an interesting one to have, but I'm not sure how necessary, as long as it doesn't affect the overarching game,
No, of course not. But and so long as that part of the internet actually wisens up and realizes that it's due to stories and certain characters being that way, not the actual game trying to take that stance. Although that is a very difficult sell, especially because a lot of those people jump to conclusions oh so dramatically. So like on the one hand, it would be a cool thing to have just because it broadens your spectrum of storytelling. But on the other hand, if you want to avoid a certain backlash in today's society, you do want to keep certain aspects of that at bay. So,
yeah, I mean, there's a level of tact that you'd have to have in order to keep everybody happy. Gargoyle in chat says xenophobia, sure, you know, like aliens and humans, you know, it's one of those. We've used aliens and humans for a long time, you know, Star Trek, all that kind of stuff, in order to kind of I guess, bridge the gap between reality and like and fantasy, and kind of relate to that and say, you know, like for instance, if something with a Klingon happens with something with a human, you can like kind of bring those parallels to like reality and like kind of liken that to, you know, like modern day racism and that kind of thing. But
Star Trek
there's value in that.
Yeah, has been always a big proponent of a proper sci-fi, which, like, one of the definitions of science fiction is that it tells stories of today's strife and social, economical, and political situations in a futuristic otherworldly setting. You know, that is what science fiction is supposed to be about, which is, you know, also the reason why a lot of people don't consider Star Wars science fiction, because it's basically just, you know, a fairy tale in space.
I can see ways in which they could possibly go about doing it and make it like you know, tasteful in a way. I mean, they've talked about the morale system already in Star Citizen. They've talked about how different things that you do as a player will affect the morale of your NPCs. The way you dress, what you do, that kind of thing. I mean, if they really wanted to, if they wanted to, I mean, if they wanted to bring that kind of level into it as well, maybe you could have a sexist NPC that would start off with a certain level of morality, and he would or she would I guess take a liking to you if you were, I mean, and then you'd have to basically decide, okay, I'll have to take this person or not because of, I don't know. I mean, it's a bit complicated. I think that it's a bit.
Are you confusing morals and morale?
No, not no. Look, so
because they were talking about morale, like
morale.
So to work, not morals.
Exactly. So, for instance, you could have a male NPC, you could be a female player, and the male NPC would have a lower morale from the get-go because he doesn't want to work for a female character.
Oh, yeah, sure. Yeah, I get you.
Yeah, but I don't know. I think that you could have it, but I don't know. I mean, Star Citizen is trying to, like, you know, push the envelope for so many things in terms of tech and all that kind of stuff. I don't know if they necessarily want to do anything that's a bit too extreme, you know, because if they do so, then, you know, then that's just more negative press, and they don't necessarily want that. I think that's why, in terms of how they are handling the current, like, playable character, female armor and stuff, I think that's also kind of why they're keeping it very neutral, I guess, in a way.
Yeah. Like, in doing research for this episode, because this is exactly what I wanted to talk about primarily, is like, when it comes to these MMOs, or basically just any game where you can choose your character, there's what I've discovered. There are three clear ways of doing a female character that differentiates her from the male character, and just, you know, taking science fiction games for a loop, or just basic science fiction, just because, you know, it's easier to correlate to Star Citizen. You got the high-tech bikini, where it basically, you know, all the skin's exposed, you know, female super sexualized, you know, all the armor is basically magic. Then you have something that most games tend towards, and that is the version of the male's visual aspect, but more feminine, a more hourglass figure, narrower waists, thinner limbs, basically more curves everywhere. And then the third one, which is basically no distinction whatsoever. Like The Expanse is a good example of that. I think it's in season 2 or that starts off on Mars with those Marines. Like until the visors go up, you have no idea who's male or who's female because everybody's wearing the exact same thing.
Right.
So what do you think would be the best way for Star Citizen to go in?
I think that for Star Citizen, because of who CIG is and what values or whatever that they want to represent, I think that maybe the third one is probably the best. Keep it as realistic as possible. I mean, we have examples of female body armor in the military and that kind of thing. Like it's not widespread, but it's kind of coming into circulation now, and it looks more or less the same as like male armor. There's no accentuation of femininity in a battlefield, for instance, and so I think it makes sense for them to have more realistic gear in that kind of sense. Of course,
but then other than civilian attire, what point is there to actually have the female character unless you can express yourself that way? I mean, like if you look exactly the same way with a full closed off helmet, and the only way for you to realize what that would be to take it off, what's the point? I mean,
I get what you're coming from.
There's no misogyny, if there's no story-based difference between the genders, the only difference is in self-expression, in the way you present yourself, the way you want your avatar to present you in game. In that case, you would want the femininity to be portrayed in some way.
I mean, like in that case, I get where you're coming from. I mean, like if the male and female characters look exactly the same, then if the male and female characters look exactly the same, then you don't necessarily like what's the point? I guess the point is for the player, for the people that it matters to. The point is kind of like in here, like I am this person, this is me, this is what they're wearing. I mean, you could argue that in a combat situation, like looking more feminine doesn't really make any sense. In the future, though, I mean, like you can see this character here, this Halo character, I believe. I mean, like
yeah, this is Olympia Vale from Halo 5.
Yeah, I mean, like I feel like you could obviously, you could obviously express yourself in different ways by choosing different colored armor. That's obviously one way of going about it,
which we already have. Sure.
Yeah. But I think this week, when they talked about the new female armor and stuff, they also mentioned how they were also planning on making gender-specific gear as well. But at the same time, I don't think you necessarily need gender-specific gear in order for you to have that kind of expressiveness. I mean, right now, all the armors that we have at the moment are either pretty neutral or very aggressive and like veering towards more masculine, like with the giant shoulders and stuff. I mean, there's nothing stopping CIG in the future from making more armors that are slightly more feminine in where they are weighted, like wider hips or whatever, to make the armor look more feminine in that kind of sense, but still allow males and females to use that armor, I think that's probably the best way of going about that. Having the gear cut in a way that you kind of like, that would make it look more like conventional, like fantasy sci-fi gear, but also allow male characters to use it too and mix and match in order for them to.
Yeah. I mean, why wouldn't you want to be flamboyant?
So, Forgotten Lords in chat mentioned a while ago. He says, what would their reason for including these extra mechanics be? I doubt immersion would be a justification enough. Can you imagine the patch notes if they did? Patch 15.4 added racism. I mean, I guess he has a point there. I mean, like in terms of how problematic things can get if you were to add like gameplay implications to choosing being a man or a woman, because it'd be problematic, I guess, is the word. Yeah.
Sure, but
like people play games for escapism, right? You don't want to go into a game to be reminded of all the things that you're playing a game to escape.
True.
Yeah.
On the other hand, that is also what Star Trek was about, escapism, and it did that by basically mirroring the real world. Try to teach people instead of try to scare them. I think if it's all about approach and execution at this point.
Yeah. So here we have some footage from ATV. Yeah, this is showing the male armor that we have right now, the Hurston Dynamics armor, and all the female armor, the female model also wearing that same armor, and it's basically showing how they are the same but also different, like that, because of course the female model is wearing it and that kind of thing. I like this. I mean, like, personally, I don't see the necessity of having the female armor look sexy just because a male person may want the character to look sexy. I don't think that that's the point. In the future, they can add...
Thing is, you are kind of drawing like too broad a picture. It's not just the males who want the females to be sexy, which is what I was alluding to before. It's the females who would want to be viewed as sexy because, I'm not gonna go too deep into this, but it is the way the world is. The way women do wear makeup, they do wear short skirts and high heels and everything.
Yeah.
And it's not just because males find that attractive.
And that's fair enough.
It has undertaken a sort of social evolution, and it's become a part of the gender. So
yeah, and again, that's fair enough. But in the world of Star Citizen, combat is combat. But they've mentioned that in the future there will be styles for males and styles for females, and whether or not we'll be allowed to be, to wear one as one and one as the other is yet to be seen. In many like KMMOs and Japanese Korean MMOs, that tends to be the case where they're female specific and male specific armor sets. As you can see from here, they've already started concepting some Hurston Dynamics gear where you can be, which are more masculine and more feminine, and there is no like a cross.
Well, I can't actually.
What do you mean you can't actually?
Because you have everything in a tiny.
I can't fix it, but you know what it is. You can see the thumbnail.
Yeah, sure.
Don't be pedantic.
Yeah. Have you met me?
But yeah.
But that is only civilian clothing, which is what I'm not including in this conversation, because sure, civilian clothing will have a lot of female specific variations and a lot of male specific variations just to accentuate the differences. But I'm just thinking, like, if you go to the first video that I sent you, the first clip, which has Aloy from Horizon Zero Dawn and Senua from
Senua's Sacrifice.
Yes, that one. Those are not civilian attires. No. There's Aloy in her combat gear, and it's got flair. It's got sort of a feminine look to it. Sure, it's got that sort of slightly exposed midriff and etc. going on, but
honestly,
in my research, it was the least look at me, I'm a girl type armor that I could find to corroborate my point.
I mean, honestly, Aloy's gear looks pretty like anybody could wear that. If you've ever played Monster Hunter, if you got a male character wearing that gear, it would look like it was made for males. But then again, Monster Hunter can be very androgynous with its gear.
I was gonna say, yeah. Is it Asian in development?
Yeah, it's by Capcom.
Yeah, and yeah, Western culture does tend to, as a rule, create a bigger gap between the two. Yeah, and,
yeah. But I mean, with these gears, I mean, like, of course, then they're not sexualized at all. Like they're just,
of course not. which is good thing. I
Yeah.
don't want it to be boobalicious, and tits and ass everywhere, because this is we are, after all, evolved citizens. We do not go there.
So these are
even though I told you like 15 minutes ago that from a storyline perspective it may actually be welcome, but that's completely different.
Right.
I mean,
so,
I don't agree, but yes.
Right. So this gear here, I mean, like, it's very form-fitting. So in the world of Star Citizen, because of course you were talking about battle armor, you said that we're not talking about civilian gear. Like, this gear is form-fitting. The Odyssey, like, flight suits are incredibly form-fitting. I mean, like, each one looks like, stupid, sexy Flanders. If a female character was wearing that gear, it would then hug around her figure, and it would be like this, or like Zero Suit Samus or whatever. I mean, like, so I think that we kind of have that already.
I suppose, yeah. We haven't seen any examples of it, though, although I believe the 3.5 will include quite a lot of extra clothing.
Yeah. I think that CIG are being very tactful about what they show their female models doing and using right now in all these pieces, like in ATV, because once they come out in 3.5, there's not going to be a shortage of posts on Reddit of characters naked and stupid things.
Oh, sure.
Yeah.
Well, as naked as you can get them, like for the male, it's basically boxers, but for the females,
they're proper trunks now.
I doubt there will be lingerie available.
No. Yeah. But anyway. So, let me see. I have this video here that I can just play as we talk as well. Just like they're just talking about how it all works and how they're getting the gear that we currently have in game ready for the female characters as well, in a really interesting way. So basically, all the gear that we currently have will be accessible to the female models from the get-go. Like, a big fear.
That's good.
A huge fear was that once we got the female characters, she'd be limited to not much of anything. But you can see that they've been doing all this work to get her ready, so that once it's out, it's like she was always there. So
yeah, and from this example, it doesn't really seem like it's a complicated work. There's a lot of it, but it just doesn't seem like it's complicated. So they probably have, up until now, or maybe up until the near past, been developing the tools to allow them to do this quickly, as well as all the animations that have to go with it, that have to be refactored, just because, as we said, it is a slightly smaller head box and therefore skeleton.
I wonder if they've actually accounted for this hitbox thing, because of course it has to be, like when we get this, it has to be as fair as possible. And when you see her run cycle here compared to the male one, I think that she does
shrink.
Yeah, she does take up as much space in terms of her posture. So I don't even think that it's really that much of a difference, really.
And I don't think with this, I don't think it's that much of a difference. It would make a difference if this was a close quarters combat simulator or just an FPS game where it's very much a close distances between you and your enemy. But Star Citizen isn't that. It's all about long distances. And as soon as you get to a certain point, like where you have to use your sights or a scope to find somebody, it just disappears. I mean, there wouldn't be a difference whether the person is like 5 more meters away from you or is a female versus male. I don't think it actually matters. It would matter in a different type of game, I believe.
That's fair enough. I agree. Yeah. All in all, I'm looking forward to it. So, like, what kind of gear do you
role play as a female?
No, never. I mean, I have my reasons for it. I mean, like, once upon a time I did, like, not necessarily role play, but just play. But I don't like. I personally don't like the way that male players interact with female players. And as somebody who's played as a female player character before, it's not pleasant. I mean, like, more power to people who want to play as who they are and stuff. But that kind of attention and that kind of stuff, I mean, is not nice. Like, but yeah, I mean, what can you do? It's not.
Yeah, I can understand where you're coming from. Yep. So, okay, just a cheeky question. As 3.5 comes online, just how much of a percentage of the population do you think will switch over?
Honestly, I see a bunch because it's a PTU alpha or whatever, and you can just go into the main menu and change. I think almost everybody is going to at least check it out once. I mean, once we get
but you
into
could do it in the hangar.
that's true, you know, like that's very true. I think a lot of people are just gonna do it because it's literally the flavor of the month. But I honestly though, at the same time, it's coming out with the character DNA system, so a lot of people are also going to be fiddling with that to make those characters look like themselves. So I feel like what you will see, like maybe day 1, day 2, initially is going to be a whole bunch of people as female characters because hey, you can finally do this and everything looks different. But then people are then going to start trying to personalize their characters and be more themselves, which is the whole point of the the patch and the content in the first place.
Oh, just something I realized. Would Star Citizen be the first game that incorporates the eye height of the character into first person? That it would translate, like, so if you change from the male, that's what, like 190,
okay,
or 6 feet tall, and to the female, the camera, in first person would actually drop by a couple of centimeters, and that would be noticeable. Is Star Citizen actually the first game where that would happen?
No, I don't think so. I think that, I mean, what, in an MMO's sense?
No, just any sort of, because so far, like the only games where you could do that aren't really as complex. They don't do the equating between first person and third person animations. So,
right. I mean, I don't think you necessarily need to have parity between first and third person, like, in order for you to get that, if you know what I mean. Like,
sure, you could code it in. Yeah, sure, why not?
Yeah.
But has it happened? I mean, you had different races, like, for instance, AVP, Alien versus Predator. If you played as the alien, you would crouch, you always crouch, you hug the walls. That would do it, but that is like a completely different gameplay approach. It's not just ticking a box and all of a sudden you're down here instead of up here.
Right. I don't know, to be fair. I don't know. That's a good question.
Would it even be noticeable?
Yeah. I mean, like, I know in games like in VR Chat, for instance, which is a VR game, so it's necessary.
Oh, okay, sure. That completely escaped my mind, but yeah.
Yeah, because in that, for instance, a lot of players take to downloading Unity 3.7 or whatever, make their own avatars, and place their eye height where they want it to be. So,
yeah, I remember you playing that sort of like melee arena game where you sat down and hit reset, so your eye height would actually be like as if you were you were super tall, because then you would stand up and it would just go. Or was it the other way around? Yeah. But yeah, that was your choice, and it was hilarious to observe. But you went to extremes, like playing a dwarf or playing a giant, so to speak. Yeah.
So I figured that I may as well bring up the 3-lateral thing as well, because we're talking about the character DNA system, and it's pretty awesome that we're getting this so soon. This is very, very old tech, actually. Like
this is the first. Demo.
The first demo. Sadly, I couldn't find the other one by Ivo, otherwise I would have had it. But yeah, a lot of cool things.
It is on the Fortnightly Frontier YouTube channel.
That one is the new one. I'll go ahead and.
Oh no, the new one, the one where they speak. I meant. Oh, you meant the one they actually showed at CitizenCon.
At CitizenCon, yes.
That one they didn't upload.
They didn't. Oh, they. Oh,
They
right.
didn't upload. I talked to Xylo about it, and he says he's got like 1,000 DMs already about it, and I don't know why. It is on the back burner. It is waiting to be uploaded.
It was the most impressive of the lot.
was.
Really, I mean, like, and no disrespect to any of the other developers, but like, geez, they. Oh, a lot of cool stuff is coming. A lot of cool stuff is coming with.
It is actually available for you to watch if you go watch the whole presentation, which that was streamed straight to YouTube and then just put up there instead of the segmented videos. But that is in lower quality, and I think just there were quite a few times where there was stream interruptions and frame drops, so which is why I am also looking very forward to watching that again in proper quality when they upload it eventually.
Yeah, definitely.
But yeah,
these heads are starting to freak me out, so I'm gonna go ahead and change them now.
Sure. I was gonna say that as soon as that's in, I'm making first myself, hopefully to add facial hair.
Yes, that's a big thing as well, especially since we got the concept art with the dapper man and all that kind of stuff. I think facial hair is something that we definitely need very soon. Although, oh my god, they haven't even fixed the clipping issues with the mohawk. Can you imagine what's gonna happen with big old beards?
Beard.
Yeah.
There was a GIF I saw on Twitter from Red Dead Redemption.
Okay.
They apparently solved it very well because you can wear a bandana, right? And that is very form-fitting to your face. So the guy took it off, and from it sprouted the biggest beard you ever seen, like bushiest, like almost an afro. But when he had the bandana on, it was nothing. But as he pulled it off, it started popping out. It didn't just instantly pop out. It was as if the bandana was pushing it down, and then he revealed it. And
so it's coming up in a second.
Welcome.
Yeah, this is just more of the
Hello, Mr. Oldman. And he turns towards me. Damn it, that's creepy.
Darge?
Can you imagine? Can you just imagine? Oh God, I would have a heart attack if Gary Oldman came up to me and said, "Darge."
Oh man.
No. Where was I? Oh yeah, first I'm gonna make myself, then I'm gonna make you. But
why
white.
me? But white.
But white.
But what? Oh jeez. So the reason why I brought this
white.
up is because this is actually very new. This is from CitizenCon and it has facial hair.
Yes.
Yeah.
Oh yeah. There is the janitor guy whose face they used as the Jeremy Clarkson thing from the Galactic Gear or Galactic Tour, but there he was shown
as different characters with different facial hair.
Sure.
And like
but no, as they were reciting the bishop's speech.
Yeah.
Which is a tech they really nailed down, the way they can just map any face to any capture data and have them play it back. So good.
They got skull morphing. They got everything. I mean, I can't wait. I think so. In this, and I'm sorry if I'm like segueing in a huge way here, but
well, this is all part of the the overarching topic of this episode, which is, for at least for me, and I want to push that, is self-expression in Star Citizen, with the female gender being just only one aspect of that. But this is the other one, another one,
yeah. And so I think this is the video. This is them showing all the problems they had and then showing them how they fixed them. But as you can see here, look at that. That's so many different kinds of people. That's so much everything. I mean, like, it's a bit odd, of course, the larger heads and stuff, than being on these like really toned bodies.
Yeah. Although, at the end of this segment, panel, they did discuss their plans for the future is to use the everything they learned and all the tools they developed to create a female character, to create different body shapes as well.
Right.
But that is far in the future, probably coming after Star Citizen actually is final.
Yeah. Oh man, looking at his stuff always just gives me chills. I can't wait.
Morrow doing the bishop speech gives me the biggest creeps. Oh,
in an alternate universe, and it's actually slightly transforming. You can see on the top left there, they have these yeah, he's completely transformed there now. But like on the top left there, you can see all these numbers, and they're about 40 something odd numbers, and each one corresponds to a different part of the character's face. In the future, when you make your character's face, you'll be given those numbers. You can then give those numbers to a friend. I'm sure they'll be a lot more user friendly in the future. Forgotten Lords in chat asks for this link. I'll post it.
I don't think that will be to give to your friends, because it is, I think, 47 or 49 segments, and there are 4 or 5 characters, and they're in hexadecimal. That is millions of permutations.
I know, but you will when you make the character's face, those numbers will be static, and then you could possibly take them. I mean, like, it'll be no different from, like, you know, entering a password in the 90s for a video game, I guess.
No. And I remember in Mass Effect 1, once you were done with your character, it would spew out the code. It was much simpler, but it was also for the rest of your body as well. You know, it was that your configurations identifying code, and it would spit it out, and I think it was a lot easier to copy, let's just say that.
Yeah. If they've managed to do this now, and managed to allow us to be able to make all these different kinds of heads, and all the gear actually morphs forward, I think that they're actually look at that. Yeah, look, see? Future plans. There's a fat body there, there's a skinny body there. They beat me to it. I think that they're very close to allowing us to have very different body types and stuff. Although
I think animations are the biggest drawback, because they have to remap, or whatever their phrasing is, all the animations, and there's thousands of them. Even with IK, inverse kinematics, they still will need to manually adjust every animation, unfortunately. Retarget, that's the phrase, that's the phrasing.
Yeah, but they're a step closer to that. Looking forward to it. Yeah, I mean, I brought this up. I think it was on the Space Bros show, because somebody was saying how, like, somebody talked to them saying that I'm a heavier guy. I want to be represented as a heavier guy in the verse. But yeah, you could but at the same time, because of how the game is, right? You can look down, you can see all the way down to your feet. If you're a heavier guy, you would not be literally able to see things like your ejection stuff, or your MFDs if you're too big. It'll actually be
why do you have to treat me like this, Myre? you know I'm a bit portly.
I don't think you have to worry about seeing your MFDs, Darj, but I mean, like, that I guess if
he's talking about penis.
God damn it. Your MFD. Your multifunction. Anyway, so what is life? So yeah, I think I don't have any more media for discussion. I think as we get closer to this new patch, I think we're going to get more and more, like, teasers from CIG showing this stuff off. However, Jared isn't actually going to be around all of Disco Orlando.
January.
All of January. He did mention that they don't even need him anymore and that kind of stuff. But I think that it might mean that we might not necessarily get as much content that we would necessarily like for the month of January. But
then he will be back with a vengeance, and we'll get
definitely
great content again. Speaking of things that are coming in the near future, today is the 17th, I believe.
It is.
Yeah. And on the 20th is when the Squadron 42 newsletter with news of the roadmap, and hopefully the roadmap itself is being released.
Oh, dude, yeah.
Yeah. Unfortunately, we won't be back to cover it until you know better than me.
Yeah, until the 7th. The 7th is when I get back, but I don't know what day the 7th is. I'll find out it's Monday, so we could do it the day I get back, depending on if I arrive in the morning or the night. But
Okay.
yeah.
Yep. So we could cover the supposed live stream that's not coming.
Yeah, I mean, or you could get a co-host to cover.
Yeah, but you're the one who streams. I mean, the show would have to go live on another channel if I get a co-host.
That's true. Fair enough.
No, I think we'll video. Just... Yeah, this is what's happened. We've become a straight to video podcast.
Oh man.
Yeah, so we'll be back on the 7th.
I think that's the end of at least that conversation.
It is.
Yes. Yeah. So
I mean,
Foxside,
we are actually, you know, I've been thinking that we see too much eye to eye. We don't argue enough on these podcasts. It's like talking to myself, you know, so much confirmation bias.
Yeah. So I think the CIG are doing a terrible job with the female models, and I want those sexy anime figurine characters today. Where's my Gundam ship at? Yes, exactly. No, you're agreeing with me again, damn it!
We just can't escape it.
Oh man.
Yes. So sure. Because of that, I think, you know, we've said everything that I wanted to say on this show. Today, the final podcast of 2018.
2018.
Yep. So, and I suppose that just means, unless you have anything to add.
Hi, my name is Myre. That's about it.
Already introduced at the beginning of the episode.
Just in case people forget, you know, like. But no, I have.
And I am Darjanator, and this has been Fortnightly Frontier. Thank you so much for watching on Twitch, on YouTube, listening on SoundCloud, and other places that you may have possibly found us to annoy you.
We're
possibly in your car. We are on SoundCloud.
Spotify?
I don't know.
Never mind then.
We are on Google Play Podcasts.
Not interested.
Not interested. Damn it. Anyway, this has been Fortnightly Frontier. Merry Christmas. Happy New Year. Happy holidays, whichever it is that you celebrate. We will see you in 2019.
Around the verse.